All right, welcome. Today, we're going to unpack a really powerful framework for world-class leadership. Think of it as a tool that brings some serious focus to what can be a super demanding and, let's be honest, often chaotic role.
So, does this feel a little too familiar? It's that constant juggling act, right? You're putting out today's fires, you're trying to manage your team, and then somehow you're also supposed to be strategizing for next year's growth. It's basically a recipe for feeling completely and totally overwhelmed.
So, how in the world do we fix it? Well, in this explainer, we're going to map out a solution. We'll start with that core problem and then build step by step toward a really practical blueprint you can actually start using today to reshape your whole approach to leadership.
You know, where does that feeling of being stretched so thin even come from? A lot of the time, it's because we're trying to manage all these disconnected priorities without a clear mental model. We're constantly switching contexts, but we're doing it completely without a map.
Now, the solution isn't to just work harder or wish you could somehow clone yourself. No, it's about organizing your focus. It's about realizing that all your responsibilities can be sorted into three distinct yet, and this is the key part, deeply interconnected worlds.
So, I want you to think of this framework as your new leadership compass. It's specifically designed to help you navigate all that chaos and make sure you're pointing your attention in the right direction at exactly the right time.
And here they are, the three worlds of leadership. First, you've got operations. That's how you execute. Then there's the business model, your strategy, your place in the market. And finally, organization development, which is all about your people and your culture. You know, mastering the dynamic balance between these three, that is the absolute key to creating a sustainable advantage.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that each of these worlds has its own unique spirit, its own kind of DNA, and its own set of critical actions. So let's break them down, one by one.
We're going to start with what might be the most foundational world, organization development. This is basically your company's collective mindset. Its spirit is captured by the simple PTO framework. How do you perceive what's happening in the market? How do you think and analyze that information? And then how do you operate to actually make decisions and act?
That whole mindset, that PTO, it translates directly into these critical actions. We're talking about intentionally aligning your culture and values, creating real psychological safety so people can innovate, developing your top talent, and building these robust feedback systems that just fuel constant learning.
Okay, next up, we've got the world of the business model. This is all about your strategic position in the market. Its spirit is defined by the PCCG framework. What's your product portfolio? Who are your customer segments? What are your channel networks? And what's your geographic presence? To put it really simply, it's the what, who, how, and where of your entire business.
So the actions you take here are really strategic and forward-looking. This means digging deep into market intelligence, actively building out your innovation pipelines, relentlessly trying to understand your customers better, and strategically planning your next big moves in the market.
And finally, we land in the world of operations. The spirit here is so simple and so powerful. Execute to win. This world is all about precision, discipline, and the relentless pursuit of consistent, high-quality delivery. This is where your grand strategy actually meets reality. In this world, your focus is laser-sharp on execution. You're optimizing processes, you're guaranteeing quality, you're mastering your supply chain, and you're using hard data, your KPIs, to drive performance. It's also about being ready, making sure the organization can handle pretty much any crisis that comes its way.
Okay, but here's the thing. Thinking about these worlds in isolation, that's probably the biggest mistake you can make. Their true power, the real magic of this whole framework, is only unlocked when you consciously integrate all three of them together.
Now, integration, from a leader's perspective, means you have to be a bit of a mental chameleon. When you step into the organization world, you're leading with empathy. When you shift over to the business model, you become completely data-driven and customer-obsessed. And then when you jump into operations, your focus sharpens to pure discipline and results. It's about knowing which hat to wear and when. So, let's get practical. How do we turn this powerful theory into something you can actually use? Here's a framework you and your team can start using, well, pretty much immediately. You can apply this whole thing in 6 steps. First, you diagnose where you are right now. Then you use that diagnosis to align your leadership team and define some balanced metrics. From there, it's all about action. Collaborate across functions, build the right capabilities in your people, and then constantly iterate with tight feedback loops. But of course, you can't do this alone. If you want to build this multi-world capability in others, you've got to move beyond just theory. Focus on tangible experiences.
Think rotational programs that force new perspectives, high-stakes cross-functional projects, and really targeted coaching to help your rising leaders master this way of thinking.
Okay, so how do you know if you're actually getting it right? How do you measure success in this new model? And what's the very first move you should make?
Well, success has to be measured differently in each world. For your organization, you're tracking things like employee engagement and cultural health. For the business model, it's the hard numbers. We're talking market share, revenue growth, and in operations, it's all about efficiency, quality, and compliance. See, a truly balanced leader tracks a balanced scorecard.
Ultimately, your role as a leader, and it doesn't matter if you're the CEO or leading a small team, is to be the great integrator. You are the one connecting these worlds, helping your team see that bigger picture, and embedding this balanced way of thinking into their daily work. So, we'll leave you with one final and really crucial question. Take a second and reflect on your own organization right now. Based on everything we've just covered, which of these three worlds, operations, business model, or organization development, needs your focus the most? Answering that question, that is your first step on the path to becoming a true multi-world leader.